Hey Denny, how you doing, man?
There's too many fucking quotes for this. Like, I mean, Jesus Christ.
Are you aware of the ship of Theseus? Oh, no, that's more recent.
What's that
It's
from?
1 to 3. That's WandaVision, isn't it?
Is it?
Like, I think it is. Where Vision is like, oh, but if you take away all the bits of a Vision and then put them all back together again, is it Vision?
Well, I mean, we've already went beyond what we were going to talk about.
Let's think of one from Iron Man.
I am Iron Man.
I am Iron Man. Yeah, take a piece of pizza. Take 2. That's a good one.
Let's think of
one.
Let's think of one from Endgame. I am Iron Man. There you go. Woo!
Oh, there we go. Nailed it.
Nice through line, Marvel. Nice through line. I like it.
Perfect. It's a cyclical narrative. Write that shit down, and it'll be the next great American novel.
But before we get to the absolute behemoth task that we have today, which probably isn't even, I mean, we're going to be talking a load of shite anyway, but we have a bullshit segment to put out.
I'm sorry, the way you said that. We have a bullshit segment to, like, produce.
Yeah.
We have to make one and export it. And,
as if anyone's asked for it. Do you know what I mean? That's oh fuck. I've got this bullshit segment to do. Oh really? Is that quite a big pot? No, it's just something that I decided that I would try and do. I'm sick of it already. Right, shall I spin the wheel?
Yeah, hit it.
Britain, one nation.
Oh fuck me.
Yeah. This piece of bullshit was something that Lewis originally saw, and we were graciously reminded by our lovely patron Darius, who's in the chat at the moment. And I'm just gonna get it up because it was really, it was
terrifying, is what it is.
Yeah.
If you are a long-time listener of the podcast, even if you're a short-time listener of the podcast, you'll probably know that I'm a bit of a. I have quite left-leaning politics, to say the very least.
Yeah.
So when I saw this terrifying right-wing propaganda, I was genuinely really scared. If I remember right, I might be misremembering the story, so please feel free to call me a dickhead if I'm misremembering it. I think what was it? It was like a national office wanted school children to sing a song to say that Britain is one nation, a strong nation, and a proud nation, all at once. And the lyrics were terrifying. It was like, Britain, one nation, strong nation, or something. Bearing in mind, Britain is, of course, home to several home nations. Yeah. Not just one. There's England, Scotland, Wales, and Ireland. Northern Ireland. Sorry, that was complete idiocy on my part. But yeah, my point being that by nature, it's a very diverse place, and instead of that, it's like, no, we're all one people. That's what we are, strong and singular.
Yes.
Can't it just be okay that we're diverse? Is that not okay? Oy.
I mean, I've got the actual tweet here, the original.
Oh, exciting!
And it's from the Department for Education, which is kind of
good stuff.
It sounds like the Ministry of Truth. We are encouraging schools across the UK to celebrate One Britain, One Nation Day on the 25th of June, when children can learn about our shared values of tolerance, kindness, pride and respect.
Oh, God, it makes me fucking angry.
You know, I mean, on the surface, it's like, oh my God, that sounds lovely. That sounds really nice. But it's like, as Lewis said, Britain is a conglomerate, a sort of partnership between several nations, all of which are very different to each other. They all have different cultures and different identities, and even within those nations, there's again different cultures between different ethnicities that have came here over the years, forcibly or otherwise. So to sort of try and lazily condense Britain into one big nation, as if that's what we've ever been about, is kind of fucking stupid. And
no, it really disgusts me.
Yeah, it's like, and it's being pushed in a way like it's like woke nationalism, you know. It's like I remember when the current government was put into power, and they talked about, we have the most diverse cabinet in UK history. And it's like, yeah, well, that's good, but it's fucking irrelevant if the cabinet is full of arseholes. Do you know what I mean? It's like surely the diversity is good as long as the people that we're representing are also good. You know, it's like I really having saying, oh, we've got the most diverse cabinet in history, and then like hearing Priti Patel say that, who is a human coagulation of evil. You know, it's like it really sort of undermines the whole message, I think.
It is terrifying because it's Darius has just put something in the chat. It doesn't count when you all have the same views. Yeah, it's
exactly.
Diversity is one thing, but it's diversity of political beliefs as well as diversity of ethnicity.
Yeah.
In that you can't just have. It's all well and good to say, oh, we've got this incredibly diverse cabinet, but if they all say, no, we should have an incredibly far-right, horrific government, well, that's not a diverse political opinion representing people from all over the spectrum.
No.
The idea of having the sort of representative system we do is that I vote for somebody for Stoke that represents my personal beliefs, and then they go to the Houses of Parliament and make decisions because they have the same beliefs as me.
Exactly.
That's the idea. But if the person that I'm voting for doesn't have the same beliefs as me, and I'm only voting for them because they're just there, and I don't want to waste my vote, so I just have to vote for someone, then they're going down to the Houses of Parliament and voting for something that I don't agree with at all.
Exactly.
So it fucks the whole system. Do you know what I mean?
It really does.
And it frustrates me because it's that, and it's also this One Britain, One Nation Day. It's this insane myth of British exceptionalism, of I think there's a lyric in the song. It's like Great Britain, Strong Britain, or something.
Yeah.
Isn't that one of the most chilling things you've ever heard? I would not be surprised to hear that in like in horrific regimes in history, they made children sing songs like that about other countries that actually had openly far-right racist political parties in office.
Absolutely.
That's absolutely terrifying to think. Kids are being literally indoctrinated to think that Britain is somehow exceptional and superior to the rest of the world. It really scares me. I think go on.
I mean, thankfully, like, I think like this country, it's like it would probably have like more effect in somewhere like the United States, where like the Overton window is like shifted like right wing anyway. But like in this country, it's like you know we've got like stuff like the NHS. I think the youth is continuously getting more and more progressive. I've got some of the lyrics here.
Good.
We are Britain and we have one dream. Really, that's kind of generalising, isn't it? You know, I would probably drive off a cliff if I ever had the same dream as Mr. Johnson. If I'm honest, you know. So that's the first line. To unite all people in one great team. Yeah, but the problem with that is that it's different teams, you know. So like it sort of it inherently implies that some teams are going to have to be either rubbed out or pushed out in order for that to work.
Or just assimilated. The problem with the lyric is that it implies assimilation rather than sort of healthy debate and challenging others' political beliefs. If you've got the purple team and the orange team, and the purple team have some very left-wing views and the orange team have some very right-wing views, then you aren't combining their beliefs if the purple team dominate the orange team and sort of assimilate their beliefs and say, okay, you can't actually say the things you believe, you've got to be a mouthpiece for us. That's not healthy political debate. That's just a horrific situation. You need to have healthy debate in political spheres, and this feels like something that's starting to erase that a little bit. It's horrid.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's like, thankfully, I think that this has fallen flat for a lot of people, because it just seems incredibly desperate. And you know, you might be watching this thinking, well, I mean, it's just like a song and all that, but like generally rhetoric like this, when people say one people, one nation, it genuinely or sort of generally and historically has been along ethnic lines, as well as just having views of tolerance and respect and pride. That's the one that, you know, if you're if you're used to hearing that sort of garbage, it's like the word pride just goes. I don't really like that. But
that's I couldn't agree more, Dan. I think that at the sort of core of my political beliefs is the thought that you are what you do, rather than what you sort of have become, if that makes sense. I think that it's complete circumstance that I was born where I was born, to the family I was born to, and that for example, it's complete circumstance that I grew up going to a primary school that did Easter services. At primary school, for us, every year we would do every Easter we would have to learn all about Jesus and what he did at Easter, and then we'd have to go to church and sit through a church service and sing some songs. It's completely circumstantial that that's the case. If I was born in a different country, I would be learning different things about a different religion. So I don't think it makes sense to say, oh, I'm proud to be British.
Yeah.
Because you didn't earn that. That's just happened. Do you know what I mean? It's just something that you've happened upon. I'm proud of the things that I have earned in my life. I'm proud of my career. I'm proud of my marriage. I'm proud of the things that I have managed to earn in my life. And I think that I mean, obviously I think it's a healthy belief because it's my own personal belief, but I think that's a healthier belief than thinking, no, I think that just through my existence, I am superior to other people.
Yeah.
I'm proud of my own existence relative to other people, because that implies that you are ashamed of other people and looking at other people and saying, no, look at what they've been born into. That's a disgusting, shameful thing that they've been born into, and therefore they are a bad person inherently.
Yeah, I mean Yeah, I mean that is it's the root of xenophobia. The sort of the idea that where you're born somehow has a greatness that other places can't achieve, and it's at its core, it's just primitive tribalism.
It really is. You're
wrapped
right.
up in garbage like this. I mean, I've got to say, on a more light-hearted note, the lyrics are so fucking shit, because it's "We are Britain, we have one dream, to unite all people in one great team." What's the next bit? And then it's just, for the next fucking 21 seconds, "Strong Britain, great nation." Literally, just those words for the next 21 seconds. So whoever wrote this song is not only a fucking idiot, they can't write a decent propaganda song. That's what so Tory government, whoever you paid to write this shit, maybe I would consider getting someone else if you want it to be a bit more effective, because that shit, it just doesn't work on young people today, because it's just embarrassing. It's so fucking embarrassing having to stand there like, oh, strong Britain, great nation. Like, what the? You know what I mean?
I think young people nowadays are much more politically active, just because of things like Twitter that's brought them thrust into the centre of political debate. Even if it is just people calling each other twats on the internet, it's still, in a manner of speaking, political debate. And so I think that now you're much more likely to hear a young person, someone our age, someone even younger perhaps, that has no 0 point, and would just say things like, oh no, yeah, we should redistribute the wealth, we should tax the rich, or eat the rich, sort of thing. It's much more common to hear people say very strong political statements like that than it is to even just see people chatting in day-to-day life. Yeah. It's something that I've noticed as a difference between myself and sort of older generations, is that people from older generations sometimes just want to stop and have a chat about nothing.
Yeah,
and it's like I'll be walking to the shop or something. It's like, all right, mate, you going for a walk? I'm just going to the shop. Oh, what are you going for? I don't really want to tell you. I'm just going for pasta. But why do you care?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's I think I would rather he was just like, all right, mate, redistribute the wealth, and I was like, yep, eat the rich. Do you know what I mean? I'd rather have a that on the street. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know. I know that I am obviously biased in that I have my own political opinions, but something about this song, not only is it obviously different political opinions to what I have, but it's just something so insidious about how the plan was to sort of worm its way into school children's
education
minds. Do you know what I mean? Through the education. Oh, it's terrifying.
I mean, there was a similar thing in the US where Trump tried to introduce patriotic education, where just outright fucking lies are told about like, the US and like their history. There's a great video by a YouTuber called Sean, who completely debunks everything that's in this like sort of Patriot
I really
Act.
like Sean. Yeah,
not Patriot Act. What's it called? That's surveillance. I can't remember the name of the act, but it's like there are just like outright historical lies in it, and it's just it feels very, very similar to that sort of thing, because one Britain, one nation. Britain is great and Britain is strong. Maybe we should be teaching our kids about the role that Britain had in colonialism, for example. Maybe try and have a humble view of the country that we live in.
Of the past and move forward.
Yeah, and try and make it better, a better place to live for everyone, regardless of where you come from.
I think it's, in my heart of hearts, I do think it's something that I think, in order to maintain a healthy anything, you need to welcome criticism.
Yeah.
I think that's something that I value a lot about a lot of different things in my life, is that like from like sort of my writing work, I value it when people say, I like this, but I don't like this, change this part, or you could make this better, or... and I value it in like my personal life. I like that Chloe isn't afraid to say, no, that doesn't make any sense, you dick, and correct me when I say something wrong. I think that's what we should be teaching kids. Sort of, it's okay to disagree with people. The problem lies in how you resolve those differences.
Yeah.
Be kind to one another and talk about things, and then we will all be happier at the end of the day. There is a solution out there for every problem that could ever exist. So maybe if we're all just a bit nicer to each other, and we all just are a bit politer to each other with the debating, maybe we'll get there one day.
Yep. No, absolutely. I mean, it's like I'm finding it hard to imagine, kids that have to go through school meals getting cut and austerity, having to stand outside their school and sing this garbage. I mean, it's if it wasn't real, it would be funny, but it is, so it's just fucking disgusting.
Yeah, you're completely right. Yeah, it's terrifying.
Yeah, very much so. But
Darius just put a very good point in the chat. I need people to tell me when I'm being a dick because I don't always know.
Yeah, exactly. And
accurate.
Yeah, and that holds true for any country. Like, it's either... I mean, Britain historically has been the biggest dick in the world. Like just what's the phrase? The sun never sets on the British Empire. I mean, it was only 100 years ago that the empire managed to finally be sort of broken up, and yet we still have incredible influence over developing countries. Do you know what I mean? And it's just like principally, why wouldn't you just want to be humble, and why wouldn't you want to just say, let's just fucking get along, instead of strong Britain, great nation, we are one people? It's like, is it too much for the Tory government's brains that people might be different and might have different experiences? Is that just too much for them? It probably is. Yeah.
The thing is, I think it's because that's what people want to think. People want to think that they're just good and they don't have to do anything more. They don't have to improve.
Yeah.
People want to think, no, I'm already perfect. Yep. End of discussion. I don't need to improve anymore. People don't want to be told, okay, you're doing such and such things wrong. Maybe you could alter your behaviour slightly. And that you can see that when you look at sort of older people that are sort of, well, these transgenders nowadays, I don't know what to call people, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, no,
it's like, well, can't you just modify your behaviour ever so slightly, be a bit more polite? Because that's, right, this is a bit of a sideways tangent, but go with me. That's one thing that does get me is, old people seem to have a bee in their bonnet about being polite. Like, the number of times I was told growing up, don't put your elbows on the table, or things like don't put shoes on the table, things, very specific things about, well, that's why can't I do that? Because it's impolite. And then now that there's slightly different societal norms about politeness and about asking people for their pronouns and things like that, it's all of a sudden you can't be polite because it disagrees with your worldview.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, isn't that convenient? Do you know what I mean? It's absurd.
I mean, it's like it's it's not even it's. You hear the phrase constantly, oh, you can't say anything nowadays, or they won't let you say anything nowadays. And it's just this trick that people like the Tories and other far-right people like to play. It's as if they pretend as if they don't actually hold the institutional power. And it's kids on college campuses with blue hair that are suddenly running the world. Do you know what I mean? When, in fact,
Yeah.
they fucking don't. You know, it's always been the same group of people. Elite, rich, entitled, just morally bankrupt people that are always have been at the top. And it's like, if you believe that they're not actually running the show, it's just like, come on. You know, all you have to do is look.
It's what makes me smile about conspiracy theorists is it makes me laugh how there's conspiracy theories that say, oh no, there's a secret group of rich people that are running the world. And it makes you think, what, other than the widely known group of rich people that run the world, are they not the same group?
Yeah, you just feel like saying, oh, you're so close. You're so close to getting it, you know? I want to read...
a bit more. Yeah.
I want to read a letter from this is St. Joseph's Catholic Primary School that was sent to them about this. And this is to children.
About the song, is this?
Yeah, it's about the song, and it's sent to... a child's parent. Dear parent/carer, Friday the 25th of June is National OBON Day, One Britain, One Nation.
Obon. He sounds like a Transformers villain, doesn't he? It's like, oh, Optimus Prime, I'm here to destroy you. Not now, Obon.
It sounds like a fucking...
Oh, that sounds good.
It sounds like a fucking biscuit. Would you like an Obon, darling? It celebrates the four main principles of Britain: respect, rule of law, democracy, and liberty. Wait, so
Jesus.
I mean,
respect and rule of law contradict each other.
Yeah.
So does what was the liberty and what was the third one?
Democracy.
I mean, yeah, they're good.
They
don't exactly get on. They're good, but they don't get on with each other necessarily.
No. I mean,
it seems like quite a politically blind letter.
Very much so. On this day, children learn about how important it is that they have a voice, okay? That children have a right to an education and the fundamental basic rights.
Yes.
Okay.
Glad we agree so far.
Yeah, do you need to make a song to tell children that? How discrimination is wrong. Yep, definitely. We all have freedom. Well...
Not sure if we do, but go on.
Okay, you can say that. And all the nationalities that live in Britain are British and must always work together.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, that's
not great.
That erases about 1 billion people.
Yeah, exactly.
Jesus Christ. In the morning, along with the other schools across the country, there will be a minute clap for all those people who have helped us this past year, and then we will sing a song. So who is it we're clapping for? If it's NHS workers, I have absolutely no problem with that. I think the NHS workers are extremely mistreated and extremely underpaid, and they deserve all the applause in the world. But if this is because Matt Hancock went on to Good Morning Britain and said that me and my team deserve applause, you can take your fucking shitey fucking song and you can stick it up your arse, as far as I'm concerned. During the day, the children will do some different work in their classes. On this day, we will have a non-uniform day, no cost, and ask for colours of red, white, and blue to be worn, please.
Jesus.
What? Why wouldn't you just... That's so fucking stupid. You're going to have a non-uniform day to express your individuality. Please wear red, white, and blue. What? Like, that's...
Thing is, if the idea of this One Britain, One Nation Day was, okay, we're gonna sort of celebrate British accomplishments, and then in your actual history lessons, you're going to learn about British atrocities, I'd say, okay, well, I don't like it, but I understand it.
Yeah, but it's better than nothing, you know?
Yeah, exactly. But then in British, I remember when I was in primary school, we were always taught, we were always taught very British exceptionalism-y things about World War. I think we did World War II for about 5 years in primary school.
Yeah.
And is there a more British exceptionalism-y thing out there?
Yeah.
That people so often tout as, oh well, we beat the Nazis. Did we? Did Winston Churchill on his own?
Yeah, Winston Churchill sailed across on a dinghy and destroyed the entire German high command by himself. That's what happened. Just ignore the millions of Soviet lives that were killed, the millions of civilians that were killed during the marches across Europe to Germany. Just ignore all that. It's like, funnily enough, history has a lot of nuance, and countries like Britain have a lot of nuance to them. They've done some good things, and they've done some really fucking horrible things. The idea that Britain's history is just one big great thing, and we've done a few bad things here and there. No, it's like the entire foundation is based on empire and conquest and colonialism. So
Yeah.
that's what needs to be fucking sung about,
yeah.
not some weird, shitty, tone deaf song about how we're all great and how we're all the same. It's like, no, we're not. We're all different. We all have different experiences and different cultures to appreciate. And I would much rather that was respected than some faux nationalism garbage.
Yeah, it's I think if you don't mind, I'd like to round out this section with I saw this article the other day about how it's survivorship bias. That's what a lot of sort of nationalism and older people's political beliefs are sort of based on when you sort of start to look at it. Things like, for example, people's opinions on mental health. It's quite strange when you sort of start to look at sort of older people and they have very intolerant attitudes towards people with mental health problems.
Yeah.
Because it's just bizarre when you start to think about it, because it's like, oh, well, if I said, oh, I have a disease in my brain and I need to go to a doctor to get some help for it, it was likely they would go, oh, okay. But if I say, oh, I have depression, no, you fucking don't. You're just sad.
You're just mopey.
Do you know what I mean?
You know?
Exactly, yeah. But then you look back at the survivorship bias things of, oh, well, nobody I ever knew had depression. Yeah. Really? Not even Bill that worked at the box factory, and he was completely normal every day, and then one day he just hung himself out of nowhere. Yeah, do you remember that? It's survivorship bias. Just because they happened to be the person that survived means they think it doesn't exist.
Yep.
It's just turning a blind eye throughout all of history, and it sickens me. So now that we're nice and angry...
Yeah. I mean, again, it's just removing nuance. That's all this is, and it's just, it's just not good. But I think we've harped on about it.
Yeah, I think we have.
I think
about half an hour.
Everyone that's listened to us, I think they know what how we feel about this. But yeah, so we'll see you next time. Okay, now that I've done that, it's time to do the big thing, the thing that we're here for.
Indeed, it is.
There
is so much to talk about. It's crazy.
Whew. Okay, today we are talking about the Marvel Cinematic Universe phase.
The Mku.
What?
The Mku.
The Mku. Yes. Phase 1 to 3, because phase 4 isn't done yet, and
phase 5 doesn't exist.
Yeah, exactly. So I was gonna say about the executive producers and all that, but I'm not gonna do that because they make enough money. They don't need me,
Christ knows they make enough money.
They're not going to be like, oh shit, we missed out on a massive payload because shouting into the void didn't give us a credit on our thing. And the same with the starring segment as well, because there's so many fucking actors in this and they're all rich. Do you know what I mean? So it'll be fine. Do you know what I mean? They'll manage to survive. If you like Marvel, you'll know who they are. Okay. So, do you have an opening statement, Lewis?
I do. I think I was born at exactly the right time to really sort of fall in love with the MCU. And I think that, the Mku, I'm sorry. Because I was born in 1999, so the first Marvel film I watched was Iron Man, 2008. Or it might have been The Incredible Hulk, which I think was the year before, or whatever it was, anyway. And so it was sort of quite special to me to be sort of growing up at the same time and watch these films as they all came out. And it was sort of... It was weird. It's like a spell broke after as the end credits of Endgame rolled, and I was like, "Oh, okay, time to go and not care quite so much." But I do think that while the films are quite cookie cutter throughout, I do think that it's, I don't know, there's something about them that's nice. There's something about them that's good. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Excellent.
What a nothing statement. Good Lord.
Well, I mean, we've got plenty of stuff to talk about, so you can redeem yourself.
Indeed I can.
One of the biggest media projects of all time, with 21 films spanning across multiple decades, and it ain't even done. It'll probably be phase 60 by the time I'm 50, and oh my Jesus Christ, that's actually really scary to think about it. The amount of money that'll have been spent and made in that time, and I'll be 55 years old. Better that my life didn't work out. Anyway. Okay, so are you ready for this big wanky edit, Lewis?
I am, yes.
Okay.
Do some wanking.
Phase
1. Whoa!
There you go.
So to explain to anybody that might not know, and of course I do know, but to explain to anybody that might not, what precisely is Phase 1?
Phase 1 is the first phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where we're in... Well, you fucking explain it then!
I don't know it! That's the joke I was making!
Oh, right, okay. Anyway, Phase 1 is the first phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where we're introduced to the big three, as I like to call them, and every other Marvel fan from here to Timbuktu, that's the word. So we've got Iron Man, and we've got Captain America, and we've got Thor. Those are that's generally what's focused on in Phase 1. So, Lewis, do you have any CRQs for Phase 1?
This and that. I would say that Iron Man, bizarrely, was one of the main reasons I studied computer science for as long as I did.
Oh, really?
Because I watched the Iron Man movies and I was like, oh, I wish I could code. Then I tried to learn how to code and I was like, oh god, this is really difficult. And now I'm just some wanky creative that sits around in jumpers and writes. But, for a glorious moment, I was very good at stuff like that. So that's nice.
Well, that certainly is nice. What do you think about? What do you think? Have you got a favourite Phase 1 film?
I mean, I probably do, don't I? I really enjoy the Phase 1 movies just because there's something so elemental, sort of, what's the word I'm looking at? Like, not atomic, atomicity. There's got to be some kind of descriptive word version of that. But it's like the first Thor movie feels nicely self-contained. Oh, maybe there's going to be some more stuff coming along. But it's still nicely self-contained, which I think is something that the Marvel movies lose as time goes on. Is when it first sort of gets started, like I say, it's a self-contained movie and there's a bit more. Like Back to the Future is a great example of this. The first movie is a self-contained movie, but then at the end it's to be continued.
Yeah.
And that's what that is, and lovely, it's great stuff. But I enjoy that's what's happening in the MCU rather than in later years when the movies do feel like installments of a soap opera.
Yeah. No, definitely. I mean, like Iron Man 1 was very sort of like experimental, with Darius, one of our patrons, who by the way has wrote a sort of mini review for every film. So if we get stuck, we're just gonna rip off that. But like Iron Man 1 wasn't like scripted, as Darius says. It was very sort of improvised, like between Robert Downey Jr. and John Favreau. So it's like it was a very experimental sort of thing. Because I don't know really what was in the executive sort of producers' heads at the time. I didn't know whether they had like a big sort of plan. But you had like Iron Man, which was experimental, and then you've got to go back to World War II when Captain America happened. But that was like after like Iron Man 2, which is considered to be not a very good film. You've got Thor. Which is one of my favourite Marvel films because it's
I really like Thor.
I really like how it's completely like a complete shift from like what, because at that point you were only introduced to like Earth and stuff, like internal stuff that was going on Earth, and then they throw you like a curveball at Thor where it's like you're on Asgard and there's Loki and there's the frost giants and all that, and there was the Incredible Hulk, which just sort of like got forgot about, and there wasn't any, it's like, why wasn't there multiple Incredible Hulk films? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's because the film wasn't that great. I also think it's because I've forgotten what his name was. It Edward Norton?
I think it was. Yeah, he was recast, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was recast because he was difficult to work with, supposedly.
Oh.
This is all alleged. I don't think anybody from Marvel has ever said this, but I think the sort of general theory and thoughts is that he was difficult to work with and nobody really liked working with him, so they stopped working with him and they recast him as Mark Ruffalo for Avengers.
Yeah. I will say that the MCU, especially like when it first started to its end, is really the only sort of big franchise that stuck the landing, especially in phase 1 to 3. You've got like Star Wars that had a difficult time with its resurgence. You've got Game of Thrones, which ended fucking disastrously. But like, I mean,
and we both know how I feel about how it started as well.
Oh Jesus! So I mean, we have, you know, like, I have my issues with Endgame, but it seemed to be like a sort of satisfying sort of conclusion to the whole thing. I like the dichotomy between like Iron Man when he's in the first film and to what he sort of becomes. Like at first he's just so self-centered, and then he realizes what his weapons are doing, and he sort of becomes like a sort of weird sort of Randian sort of capitalist who's like, oh, I've successfully privatized world peace. You know, like it's nowhere near as good as like being, you know, further than that. But I mean, it's better than nothing. It's like it's sort of going from being a selfish prick to like a sort of a version of a consequentialist, I guess. Like, but you know,
yeah, I think I do appreciate how he sort of, well, I suppose what else is a consequentialist? But he sort of realizes the effect he's having on the world. I think that's something they don't talk about very much in the Iron Man movies, but I think it's at the core of his character throughout the entire MCU, is that everything that Tony Stark does is based on the things he's done before. It's rare that he sort of comes up with a new thing. I think he asks people the best ways to help them in a very strange way, which is quite nice. Plus, RDJ was sort of born to play Robert Downey Jr. He was born to play
yes,
Tony Stark,
was.
I think. Yeah.
You're right. He was born to play himself, Lewis. He does it.
I'll get to fuck.
No, but he's constantly like ever changing. I mean, like from the get go, you would imagine that he would be the one to sort of be before you know, capitalism and like the free choice and all that. And then by like Captain America 3, Civil War, he's like the one, you know, pushing ahead with the Sokovia Accords, like curtailing the freedoms of the other superheroes. So he's constantly on a journey of like selfishness to self-sacrificing, you know.
True, and I do like Captain America: The First Avenger as well. I know it gets sort of it's another one that gets forgotten in a bit of a funny way, but I do really like that movie, and I like that consistently Steve Rogers has, apart from Endgame, which was like a massive character departure for him, but yeah, consistently his character is sort of he doesn't really believe in the American government as a concept. He believes in what he considers to be the right thing to do, and the fact that lines up with these traditional American values, as it were, is sort of coincidental in a funny way. And that's something you see a lot in like comic books, is that he'll often say, oh, I'm not loyal to America, I'm not loyal to the president, I'm not loyal to any of these generals, I'm loyal to the American dream, I'm loyal to what America represents. And I think that's sort of a very powerful character trait to have. Sort of he's such a deliberately moral character. Everything he does is a moral choice, and I think that's kind of, it's good to watch, it's fun to watch. I
mean, ultimately it sort of comes down to like him being a deontologist versus Tony, who's like a consequentialist by the end of the it's like even like in Infinity War, where like they have to trade lives with Vision. It's like you kill Vision, you would stop Thanos. Like Captain America still says, no, we don't trade lives. It's like it's still adhering to his sort of moral code, which is good. I do wish that because Captain America's kind of boring, because he doesn't actually really have an arc throughout the MCU. He doesn't really like change all that much compared to like what he was in the 40s. You know, I would like it if like he was maybe, you know, more like stereotypically old. Like maybe he would he's intolerant of certain things and learns to sort of get over that. That could have been
that would be an interesting arc to have in Avengers.
Yeah.
would be the place to have the arc, wouldn't it? Yeah, that's a really good point. If he did sort of, yeah, that's really good. Quite often you say these things, and I'm like, yeah, why didn't they do that? I suppose it's because it's not really marketable.
I suppose.
If they brought Captain America into the 21st century and he said something that was like slightly racist or slightly homophobic, that's not a marketable thing. You can't sell cuddly toys of a racist. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, don't get us wrong, folks. That I love the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but as we were talking about it earlier, Captain America is is very well thought out and very sort of carefully planned propaganda in certain points. You know, it's like Captain America. Come on, it's like it's the first film is literally him beating up Nazis. Do you know what I mean? It's like obviously like, which is good. You know, I fucking hate Nazis, but it's like it's that. Like you were talking about British exceptionalism earlier on. It's like American exceptionalism sort of personified in like a superhero. You know,
and I think obviously Falcon and the Winter Soldier is in the pipeline for us, and I haven't actually seen it, but I think that does sort of delve into the concept of what does it mean to be loyal to the American government, and what does it mean to be loyal to the American sort of concept of existence.
Yeah.
Should we quickly run through Darius's mini reviews?
Just for phase one before we.
Yeah, of course. For the first phase, we've got Iron Man. Great, wasn't scripted. That is actually true, which is insane to think of. Jeff Bridges, I think, has said on multiple occasions there wasn't really any script. We just kind of made it up, which is insane.
It really is.
Incredible Hulk. Meh. Good one. Meh. It doesn't sort the rest of the MCU. Yeah, you're right. Iron Man 2, same as the first one, but worse. Yeah, you're kind of right. I think the aesthetics of Iron Man 2 is brilliant. It matches the first one visually very well. I think that's probably Jon Favreau's doing in a lot of senses. Like the suitcase suit. I really liked that. I remember watching the movie when I was younger and thinking, oh, I want an action man or action figure that does that. That'd be great.
Yeah. We're introduced to Black Widow as well.
Yes, I do like Black Widow. She's a good character.
Very much so.
I'm looking forward to the Black Widow movie. That's coming out soon.
Yeah.
I don't know when. And that's phase 1,000,000. It's I am looking
phase
forward
36,
to it.
Yep. Yeah.
Yes. Thor, great casting. Haven't seen it in a while. Yeah, like we just said, we really liked Thor. I love Loki in that movie.
Yeah, Tom Hiddleston. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Tom Hiddleston. Full stop. But I love him in that movie particularly. Yeah.
Yep.
Captain America the first movie. Captain America the first Avenger. Good when it's mainly focused on the war. Don't like it when lasers show up. I think that's where we might disagree. I almost called you Carius. That's not your name.
Carius.
Darius. Yeah, I think that might be where we disagree. It's I was going to say I read a lot of diesel punk fiction. I don't. I have read some diesel punk books. Are you aware of the concept of diesel punk?
I am indeed. Yes. It's
like steampunk, but instead of being Victorian era technology, it's like World War II era technology.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of, I don't know. I like the visual appeal of it. I think it looks interesting, and I think it raises interesting questions. And I think I kind of liked it. To think of, what would it be like if they had big laser guns in the Second World War? That'd be fucked up, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I kind of liked thinking about that. So I think we might disagree on that one, Darius.
And it sets up the sort of Tesseract or the space stone being like a bigger threat than, and it sort of leads to the larger sort of world.
Here's a red hot take. The stones had too many names. I don't think anybody remembered any of them.
I remember them.
I don't. I never learned them because I thought the names were too many and a bit dumb.
Well, I'd read the Infinity Gauntlet book, which So I mean, I suppose it was more for like fans, and they had to do it in a way that was, also
a bit more
palatable.
Easy to understand, and Avengers or Avengers Assemble, really enjoyable. Probably the last easy jumping on point for the MCU. Yeah, I think you're right with that. It's the point where I think a lot of people might have started.
Very much so.
Yeah, you're right.
And it was also the beginning of the Skybeam trope.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Yeah. So cheers for that, Joss
So that gives it an excuse because it's the first one. So that's okay. But other movies that have done it, now you're just copying Avengers. Yep.
Yeah. And it also copied the Phantom Menace with the big sort of destroy the mothership
they all fall
and
over.
They all die. Yeah, what a fucking ex machina that is. But there you go. So I think I'm out of notes for phase 1.
I think I am also out of notes for phase 1. Shall we move on to phase? What's the number that comes after 1? 2. I can't remember. Do you know?
I'm doing the thing now. It's on now. The what do you call it? The big
title card.
Yeah, so that's happened.
Lovely.
It's exciting.
It is exciting.
So, Lewis, give us a brief sort of thoughts about phase 2.
I really like phase 2. It might be my favourite phase. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Like, I think that aesthetically speaking, I think this was the start of the trend of filming things nicely. just in terms of
Yeah.
time. I've spoken about this before. I think that on the podcast anyway. I think that Stranger Things was a big catalyst for a lot of cinematographers to start thinking, oh, people want really interesting cinematography in their actual everyday life. People want that in everyday stuff. And so I think this Phase 2 just happened to be the time when that happened, I think. I really did enjoy Phase 2. I thought Iron Man 3, absolute banger all the way through. Captain America the Winter Soldier, brilliant movie. Brilliant movie. It's fantastic sort of spy movie packaged up as a Marvel film. I really liked it.
Yeah. I'd have to disagree with you on Iron Man 3.
Ooh, go on. Tell me about Iron Man 3. What do you think of that?
Well, I mean, they had this amazing sort of villain set up with Ben Kingsley playing the Mandarin, and then he was an actor called Trevor, and it was...
My name's Trevor Slattery.
I'm still confused about who... It was the guy, wasn't it? That was the Mandarin. The
Guy
guy...
Pearce.
Yeah, that fucker. I was like, oh, wow, what a colossal disappointment that was. So I really
liked that.
No, I hated that.
I really enjoyed it. I mean, I read a lot of Iron Man comics, so I thought... So when they introduced Aldrich Killian, I was like, oh, he's going to be a secondary villain or something. And so for me, it was quite a nice rug pull. So I pulled the rug out from under me, and they were like, oh, no, the Mandarin is a fictional character, for now, at least. I mean, it might exist in Shang-Chi, but that's a story for another day. But so the rug pull was quite nice to say, oh, no, it's actually Trevor Slattery, and Aldrich Killian is sort of manipulating extremist technology. That was quite nice for me. I quite liked it.
I mean, I like the sort of as we get further into the phases, and as well as with the TV show, I like having villains with understandable sort of motivations, like a more sort of local threat, if you know what I mean. Like, because the Mandarin seemed like a guy with like an actual code and like believed things, and you know, you had like the current events of like terror going on around the world. You know, it's like it was very sort of... It was a bit risque, but for them to sort of just utterly drop it like that, I mean, it was kind of a disappointment for me. And Ben Kingsley is so wasted in that film.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
But there you go.
Yeah, and there is of course, who can forget the classic bit? Here, let me give my address to an international terrorist. Oh my God, he's blowing up my house. What? I didn't think he'd do this. Who could forget that plot?
Yeah,
that was wonderful. Avengers: Age of Ultron. Okay, let's just get it out of the way. It's the weakest Avengers film, I think, probably.
Yeah.
Do you think we can agree on that, Dan?
I can agree on that. Darius says the same thing.
Yeah, I think it is the weakest Avengers film, but it's really pretty. It's really pretty. Just in terms of the colour palette and the aesthetic, it's absolutely gorgeous. All the beautiful colours of Vision and Iron Man's armour and Thor with his lightning and stuff. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed James Spader's performance as Ultron, who, of course, is a character that I'm sure lots of comic fans know and love, of which I am one.
The plot...
I really enjoyed the everything that happened, but the way they put it all together was not good. I don't know, it was a weird case study in how to make a good film bad.
Well, the plot point of, like, Sokovia... is really important for like future films as well as the TV shows. I really like the sort of idea that the Avengers have to be held accountable for things, that they're actually like challenged, as like in Captain America 3 or Civil War when we get to that. I just want to briefly say on the Winter Soldier, I love how Shield, like even Shield, like the big organisation that's made, it seemed as if it was going to be there for years, isn't sacred, and its foundations are built on a sort of Nazi base. It's like the things that you know seem to be through, whether it be propaganda or just, you know, faith, is like there's a dark past behind everything, and I really liked that. I liked how like Captain America is like, sort of tested on what he believes is like a moral institution that he can put his faith in. You know, it's like I like that sort of questioning what is good, and like these institutions that are meant to be good and for the American dream and all that. It's like, well, is it that good? Because, you know, what happened beforehand. I like that. You know, I really like that. And you get Arnim Zola.
Who I really like as a villain.
Yeah, and they sort of used him in a very sort of creative way without having him actually be like a guy in a a robot suit with eyes, so I like that.
Yeah. No, you're completely right. I do enjoy the sort of espionage and moral themes that Captain America.
Captain.
I can't speak today. I'm losing my mind. I do enjoy the moral questions that Captain America sort of asks himself. I like that over time, his political belief, his moral beliefs do have to change. And I also like, here's a very specific thing that I like. In Civil War, which I know is Phase 3, but he's the only guy that actually sits down and reads the Sokovia Accords.
Yeah, true.
I think I think that's sort of established in Winter Soldier, of he's willing to do the hard work. Like, it's not going to be an easy job, but it's something that needs to be done. We need to do this thing to sort of get there. And that's, I think, a defining characteristic for him. So yeah, I like that. No,
definitely. You've got Guardians of the Galaxy, which is what a fucking curveball from Marvel. Oh my god! Yeah. Like, I mean, it was just completely different to anything we'd seen before. Like, just I love the original Guardians of the Galaxy. It's like, you don't have to think too much. You can just go along for the ride with an excellent film soundtrack. As Darius says, you get a really boring villain in Ronan the Accuser.
Ronan the Accuser is a bit dull.
Yeah, you call me boy. It's like, what are you angry for?
Some obscure political belief on your home world that I've never been to.
Cree Justice.
Zero State.
Or something. Yeah. I don't, there you go.
You're right. I think it's, my thing with Guardians of the Galaxy has always been, it's a bit cookie cutter in terms of plot. I think maybe it's that it was so different to everything surrounding it. Plus, Chris Pratt is very charismatic. So's Zoe Saldana. So's Bradley Cooper. So's Vin Diesel. Say again?
Dave Bautista.
They're all very charismatic. And I think that did a lot of heavy lifting during the film.
Yeah. It's when you started to see bigger celebrities as well just jump on the Marvel train, Glenn Close, who's like a really good character actor, is just, with a weird hairstyle and saying space bullshit. Like, you've got John C. Reilly as well, who's in it as a guy. It's like, it seemed to me that Marvel had really picked up by that point, and everyone wanted in on it. Everyone was wanting a piece,
You're right.
Which, oddly enough, makes me dislike it more. Because, I don't like the sort of franchising of stuff, but Phase 3, as we're coming up to, did give us some really good films.
What about Ant-Man? What do you think of Ant-Man?
I forgot about Ant-Man. Ant-Man is probably my least favourite character out of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It just bores me, the Ant-Man films.
Really?
Yeah.
I really enjoy them. I mean, I enjoy heist movies in general, so I know you don't.
No.
But I quite enjoyed Ant-Man. I thought it was because Paul Rudd is so very charismatic. I think that obviously did a lot of heavy lifting there as well, and Michael Douglas too. He was charismatic in the films.
Yeah. It's
strange. They seem to have got a lot of very actors that you have a pre-existing sort of emotional relationship with, that you're like, yeah, cool.
Yeah. Darius says, does Paul Rudd age in his mini review?
No, he doesn't.
No, he does not. He hasn't
aged.
He
looks the same in Friends as he does today.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
He hasn't aged since, was it Florida they were in? Or was it, the rainforest place, and it was raining and everything? And Phoebe's boyfriend was there from Minsk, who plays...
Oh, God, yeah. Hank Azaria. Where did they go? I'm going to have to Google this now, because otherwise it'll just piss me off. Where did they go in Friends? Holiday raining. Barbados for Ross's conference? Is that it?
Yeah. Fucking Florida. What? But yeah, I think that's all my notes for...
Yes, it is all my notes as well. We're caning it through this. We're doing really well.
We certainly are. Okay, so we are now in Phase 3.
Yes, indeed. Have you got an opening statement for Phase 3?
Phase 3 is where everything's is kicked into gear, really. It's surprisingly opens a lot of new storylines and closes all of them in one big sort of stroke. I mean, it's Phase 3 is probably the most ambitious out of the cinematic universe so far. I mean, you've got they're introducing Doctor Strange, you've got Spider-Man joining, you've got Black Panther joining, you've got Captain Marvel after the Avengers have been, utterly defeated. I mean, it's a lot of fucking story to get through, in the course of the time that it started. Captain America 3, Civil War, basically freedom versus security. Like, what one do you go for?
Yeah.
It's a good sort of dichotomy. I love the sort of the local sort of earth politics of international stuff. You've got King T'Chaka who wants to open Wakanda to the world. And you get more into that in Black Panther, and he's obviously assassinated. So that's setting up a good arc for T'Challa to sort of deal with. Whether he does what his father wants or sticks to his own sort of beliefs.
And I enjoyed T'Challa as a character really a lot in Civil War, because it says a lot that he had essentially a cameo role in that movie. He wasn't in very much of the movie at all, and yet he's one of the main things that stands out in my mind.
Yeah.
Bits where when T'Chaka is assassinated at the podium and T'Challa sort of leaps across the room. I remember watching that in the cinema and being like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
There's something so spellbinding about it.
Absolutely. Obviously, R.I.P. Chadwick Boseman.
Yes, of course.
He was battling cancer when he was doing these films, and no one knew, which is just unbelievable.
Ludicrously, amazing.
I like Zemo as a villain. He had a very understandable motivation for why he wanted to do what he did. He lost his entire family, and that sort of fits in with the. You've got Wanda, who, as we later find out, is probably one of the strongest characters in the entire MCU, certainly one of the most powerful. And the fact that the Avengers have to, they have to take sides, they have to decide, look, what is worth preserving here? Are our hands the safest, or should it be the people that we're protecting that get to decide? Because it's difficult, because on the one hand, you've got the people who are, for lack of a better word, mortals that have to live in the world that say, no, you're not doing this. But if those people don't let them do that, then we're going to be wiped out, So it's a really good sort of moral dilemma that I really like.
I agree.
Doctor Strange. I like Doctor Strange. It's a bit too psychedelic for me. But I like Stephen Strange's character going from again, it's very similar to Iron Man's sort of story, going from a selfish sort of doctor who controls his life entirely, and then realizes that nothing really is in his control.
Yeah, you're right. I did enjoy Doctor Strange. I enjoyed the psychedelic nature of it, I suppose. But I think, as Darius says in his mini review, it is a cookie cutter origin story in a very strange way. But it was also kind of gorgeous. I really enjoyed watching it. It's one of the few MCU films I've watched several times because there's something about it. It picks you up and brings you along for the ride. Yep. And Tilda Swinton is amazing in everything.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever seen her in something and thought, oh, she wasn't very good in that?
No.
She didn't quite bring out all of her acting talents. No, she's amazing in everything.
Yeah, she's a fantastic actor. But that's what I'm saying with the Marvel bandwagon. Everyone's jumping on by this point. Then you've got Guardians 2.
Which I don't even remember.
Do you not?
Which says a lot.
So
I don't.
You've got Kurt Russell as Ego.
Sorry, I'm back with you.
Yep. Which is an interesting concept. I mean, it gives finally an explanation as to why Peter Quill could hold an Infinity Stone. Which I like, because that was just bullshit at the end of the first Guardians film. It was like, we're the Guardians of the Galaxy, bitch. It's like, that basically means, shut up, stop asking questions, you silly cunts, we know what's best for you, don't you worry. So,
no, I agree with you. It is nice to have an explanation for that. And Kurt Russell's good, isn't he?
Yeah, sort of revealing himself to be a sort of just, you know, another god that doesn't give a shit, you know. It's similar to like Peter's character, because Peter's constantly fighting the urge to be a sort of you know, hardy-go-lucky thief who doesn't really have the time to care about what's going on, and also the moral compunction to do the right thing and be a moral person in the world, you know. He's very emotional like his dad, you know. He's like, as soon as Ego was like, it broke my heart to put that tumour in her head, it was like just instantly shot him to bits, you know. So I like that sort of character
I suppose that's
stuff.
This is strap in for a hot take. This is very different to, well, in a strange way, very similar to like the Spock story, where it's just like an interesting balance between essentially his Vulcan superpowers and his human hindrances.
Yeah,
that's kind of what you see with Peter Quill in the same way. Is it's his superpowers in that, yeah, he kind of has the ability to do anything now. He's kind of a little bit god.
It's like a demigod, yeah.
Yeah, but he also what brings him back down to humanity is his emotional ties to real life.
Yeah,
which is kind of a common theme in a lot of places like this. And we talk a lot about when we do the Doctor Who episodes about how David Tennant's Doctor is sort of the thing that ties him to the characters around him is his emotional links with them.
Yep.
And that's what makes him a man rather than a god. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely. I was going to mention David Tennant.
Ooh.
But and then you've got the first Spider-Man film, which was quite good. You know, you've got
I really liked it. Yeah.
Yeah, you've got Michael Keaton as another villain with understandable sort of motivations. Again, just old celebrities jumping on the fucking Marvel bandwagon. Geez, my fucking paycheck. But
I like that.
Who was it he played?
Vulture.
Vulture, that's it. Vulture.
I did enjoy that. Vulture's sort of villain origin story was he's greedy, and I kind of liked that. It's like he just wants more, and it's an understandable trait in a very funny way. And I also liked that in a very strange way, Peter Parker is similar to Steve Rogers in this universe. Like, he's very sort of, the thing that makes him a superhero is not so much his superpowers, more his moral code.
Yeah.
In that, like, I just have to do good. Wherever I am, I just have to help people if I can. I just have to do everything I can, sort of thing. And at the end of I think it's the first movie, when he's sort of dragging Michael Keaton out of the fire, and he's like, I know he's sort of the villain, but I have to try and save him. I have to try and do good things.
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting how they give Vulture a daughter as well, which makes him more sort of relatable, and you get like great characters like Mary Jane, played by Zendaya, and stuff like that. So again, it's just I like how it's a double-edged sword with Marvel, because at the same time as this world-ending event is coming, it's, you know, each character has their own sort of stuff to be getting on with, which I quite like.
Yeah. And
it's hard to do, especially if you're trying to replicate the comics.
Yeah, and I like that because that's what real life is. It's people have their own stuff to be getting on with, regardless of whatever that you sort of perceive them to be.
Yep.
People have their own valid internal lives. Like the best example that I can come up with, bizarrely, is at the minute, obviously, I don't know if you've heard, we've talked about it many times, there's football happening. But all the footballers also have families and homes and kids and pets and whatever. They have internal lives. Like, I remember seeing this picture of Harry Kane with his wife and his child, and thinking, oh yeah, he's more than just a guy that kicks a football around.
Yeah.
He also has a home life. Like, for all we know, he comes off the pitch and he's like, right, so on Sunday I've got to regrout the bathroom and I've got to do this. I mean, you know, he's probably going to pay someone, but do you see what I mean? They have internal lives as well, and I like that we sort of see that in the MCU, and that's what Phase 3 really brings to light, from Thor Ragnarok to Black Panther to all of it. It all is like, yeah, these superheroes they all do club in to try and stop the end of the world, but they also have big things going on at home that they have to deal with too.
Yep, absolutely. And after Spider-Man Homecoming, we've got Thor Ragnarok, which I fucking love. I love Thor Ragnarok. It's like, you know, there's a great sort of canon shift. Thor has suffered immeasurably by this point.
Yeah.
He's lost his mum. He's about to lose his dad. He loses his dad in this film. He has a sister that he never knew about. And eventually he ends up losing his home and is finally accepted as king, but only when he realises that the sort of the vanity that comes with Asgard is not worth pursuing, and it's the people that make it rather than the big glorious buildings and the thrones and stuff like that.
The shining city, yeah.
Yeah. So
no, you're right.
I like that.
Yeah.
And it's
no, you're completely right.
I watched a video by Wisecrack, which spoke about Thor's arc is similar to how Norse mythology treats Ragnarok. It's birth and then growth and then destruction. Thor is constantly going from high to low. In the first film, he's on he's on a high. He's going to be crowned king, and then he goes low when he loses Loki, and then he's on high again. He's saving the Nine Realms, and he loses his mother, and Loki dies as well, but he doesn't. And in Thor Ragnarok, he's defeated the evil Surtur from destroying Ragnarok or stopping Ragnarok, and then loses his dad and his brother. Not his brother, his home, and then he's crowned king again, and then immediately after, his ship is intercepted by Thanos, and half of his people are wiped out. So it's just this nice sort of callback to Norse mythology about Ragnarok happens and then things grow again and then it happens again, and it's cycle of life sort of continuously going on.
I agree with you completely. Yeah, and I do really enjoy Thor Ragnarok. I think it's some of the best performances in the MCU.
Yeah.
Even from Jeff Goldblum, who's only briefly in it. Jeff Goldblum is such a charismatic guy.
Yeah.
And Anthony Hopkins in that movie is so good.
Yeah, very much so.
And sat on the edge of that cliff talking about how he's about to die and all this sort of stuff. But
Kate Blanchett as well.
Yeah, Kate Blanchett's spectacular, obviously. But then the bit that really got me in that film was Thor being like, "Oh, I'm not strong enough. I can't defeat her," sort of thing. I haven't got my hammer. Are you Thor, god of hammers? It's it's very wonderful about the way he said it and the way he delivered it. I mean, there's no denying that Anthony Hopkins is a stupendous actor. This is not, I'm not bringing new light to the world here, but I think that film sort of showcased his talents best out of all the rest of the MCU films.
Yeah, no, definitely. And after Thor, we have Black Panther, which was quite a historic film. It was a film very sort of culturally significant for a lot of black people. At least that's what was certainly seen after it was released, and it spoke about very sort of difficult things. It spoke about colonialism and slavery and how what would it be like if an African sort of power wasn't essentially destroyed by colonialism, and whether they have a responsibility to the greater African community. It was really interesting. You've got a villain like Killmonger, who, while bad, has understandable motivations. Again, it's it's really interesting. Adichie said some stuff about it. Black Panther is the first installment in the Black Panther film series and the sixth installment in the MCU's Phase 3 series. Through the production of this movie, Marvel had done exceptionally well as a business, and specifically as a film production business. Firstly, Black Panther is a superhero movie which features predominantly black American actors, and that is amazing, as previously there were the likes of Will Smith and Wesley Snipes who made their mark as black American actors, but were not black lead roles as superheroes except for Blade, which came out in 1998. So I think Adichie's right. It was a very sort of...
It was a landmark movie.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. You've got...
yeah, so did I.
Andy Serkis as Claw, which was a nice sort of callback from Ultron. And Martin Freeman is that other guy.
That's the most forgettable person in the film. Someone said, "Oh yeah, wasn't Martin Freeman in that?" Oh God, Jerry wasn't he?
Darius has said Chadwick Boseman was going through what he was going through, and he deserves the title of the real hero. Yeah. So again, R.I.P. to
completely. Yeah,
Chadwick Boseman.
It's I think Black Panther in a lot of ways for me in the scale of the wider MCU, it sort of personifies the big shift between Phase 3 and the previous movies, was that they started to make the villains good. In that a lot of the earlier villains were just sort of inverted versions of the heroes that just kind of did stuff.
Yep.
And you were like, oh, okay, I guess they're the villain then. But I like that Killmonger has understandable motives. You can understand why he's angry, and you can understand why he's doing the things he's doing. And I think that's really good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm always hesitant to say, yeah, I really like the villain in this film, because that makes me look like some kind of monster. But my point is, I really enjoyed the villain in this movie. I think they were characterized amazingly well.
No, definitely. I mean, it's like, I love a sort of big evil bad that's bad for no reason, But like, ultimately, I hate the sort of hero villain dynamic. I like that it's grey characters with grey motivations and understandable motivations, But yeah. So after that, we have probably the ballsiest movie so far. In fact, I would say in the entire cinematic universe. You've got Avengers Infinity War, which is just one of my favourite films of all time. It's like
it is a good movie.
Everything flows really nicely. They pace it well between jumping in between different characters. You've got Doctor Strange to contend with. You've got the Guardians to sort of fit in there. And it's like, all of them are rushing about to try and stop another character with another understandable motivation. Kind of a stupid motivation, but still.
Yeah, it's I'm literally just about to jump in there. Thanos' motivation I like that they made it to be one that's understandable, but you automatically disagree with it. It's very clever writing that it's like, yeah, I get what he's going for, but it seems like a shit way to go about it. I think it's very cleverly done, yeah. Yeah,
Josh Brolin said on Stephen Colbert, he was like, this is his motivation, and Stephen Colbert was like, could he not just double the food? Like, and Josh Brolin was like, yeah, but he's not just about, saving everyone. There's that callousness that makes him more than just, an idealist. He's got a callousness to him. He's got a sort of vanity that, so he's, Thanos in the comics is, he loves death. He literally falls in love with death, the personification of death, and wipes out half the life in the universe to just sort of,
appease her,
and she's just not interested. So I like that they didn't just copy the comics, and they did like something original and different with it.
I completely agree. The thing that really struck me with Infinity War was because I had, it was like pretty much every Christmas when I was growing up, I got like big collected editions of Avengers comics and stuff, where like lots of different characters were all gathered together to go on a big group adventure sort of thing. And that's what Infinity War felt like. They succeeded in pulling off the sort of excellent narrative pacing and excellent sort of flipping and changing between like the stuff that Thor and Groot and stuff were doing at Nidavellir and the stuff that they were doing on Titan and the stuff that they were doing on Earth. It was really well paced, and it was just really good. It was really well executed and really well done.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
If anything, it makes you wish it was kind of worse, because then it would have made Endgame look a bit better by comparison. It's ever so weird.
No, definitely. And the fact that they just killed everyone, essentially. And it's like, oh my god, how do you get out of that? What's going to happen?
Yeah, exactly.
And then you've got Ant-Man 2, which Darius says, Ant-Man and the Wasp, a good summer rom-com. I can't remember much of Ant-Man, the second one.
Yeah, Michelle Pfeiffer turns up.
Yeah, Michelle Pfeiffer's
in plot,
it,
basically.
And then they disappear, don't they? And he's stuck in the quantum realm.
Yeah, I quite liked Ant-Man and the Wasp. I liked Ant-Man. I think I might just like Paul Rudd. I think that might just be the thing. I think it is a bit of a forgettable movie in general. I remember watching it and thinking there was a couple of the lines were a bit not great. Like Scott. Is he called Scott? Jesus,
Scott, yes.
My brain. Scott, yeah. When he's in the harbour and he gets to be super duper big, like Giant Man or whatever, and then they go and talk to Lawrence Fishburne, bizarrely, and they start talking about that, and Evangeline Lilly goes, "Oh, well, when you've finished comparing sizes," and we're all meant to go, like dicks. That's the joke that we're all meant to be laughing at. But I think, I don't know, it felt a bit. Some of the jokes felt a bit lackluster a bit in that one, and I mean, maybe that's just me being a snob. I don't really know, but I remember watching that one and thinking, "Oh, that's a bit."
I mean, it's
not
sort
as good
of
as some of the others.
It's sort of a big come down from like a big world-ending event like that, and then it's like we get to check in with Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's like you're not really keeping the stakes very high. It's like a sort of break. It's taking the gas off the pedals, you know. Captain Marvel, Darius says the weakest introduction story, but the de-aging on Samuel L. Jackson is creepy as fuck. I like how he said "but" as if wait, I've said it's weak, but here's a compliment coming. I like that. I didn't really like Captain Marvel, and I couldn't really get into the story, and they brought back Ronan the Accuser, which was kind of, no one really asked for that. But I will say, when it came out, there was a hell of a lot of sexist fucking people commenting on Brie Larson. Like, I mean, it's okay not to like an actor, but there's no need to be a fucking misogynistic piece of shit.
A movie is more than just a one person.
Yeah,
even if you did hate Brie Larson, and even if your opinions were completely founded in logic and reason, the movie is more than one person. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people putting a lot of work into a lot of frames. Do you know what I mean? But I remember I enjoyed Captain Marvel when I saw it in the cinema, and then I came out and thought, yeah, it was good. It was like a lot of other Marvel movies. It was good. I didn't think it was like the greatest one I've ever seen, but I did really enjoy it. I remember thinking, because Captain Marvel is a character I really quite enjoyed from the comics, which I know is bizarrely, I found this out during the press tour for Captain Marvel. A lot of people don't like her in the comic books, which I remember thinking was quite weird, because I read a lot of X-Men comics when I was younger, so I read a lot of the sort of early Carol Danvers, just she's first got her powers, oh, what's going on, sort of thing. I read a lot of that sort of stuff, and I quite liked the character, so I was excited to see the movie, and then I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I will say one thing, I really liked the costume. I liked that it was like, what's the word, I mean, I liked the sort of the aesthetic of it, with like the collar and the helmet and everything. It was really cool, just in terms of vibe. But also I liked that it was something that was given to her, that she made her own in a strange way. It felt like empowering to watch somebody do that, and it felt like they were empowering themselves. It was really good.
Yeah, definitely.
Plus, I really, really liked when Jude Law was busy being a twat, and Carol Danvers was like, no, I don't have to prove anything to you, and just clocked him. I like that. Yeah. I really enjoyed that narrative beat, in that, like, you don't have to prove anything to people that like that. That's not... You don't have to prove yourself to people that want... to people that have abused you in the past, or deliberately hidden things from you, or that's not a thing that you need to do. What's important is your own personal life. What's important is your own personal growth and how you feel about things, not appeasing an abuser, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, definitely. I will say, one of the weakest villain reveals of all time, and I mean, it's Jude Law. What the fuck are you expecting? I mean, it's going to be him that's the bad guy. Do you know what I mean? I seen a lot of people comparing Captain Marvel to Wanda, and how Wanda is like a really powerful character, but maybe her motivations and the stuff that she's went through is more sort of fleshed out than Captain Marvel's is. I mean, Wanda's had multiple movies to sort of do that,
and a TV show.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe we'll get more on Carol Danvers' story later on.
That'd be good. I'd like that.
It'd be very good. I'd like to see it fleshed out.
So, in terms of vibe, I enjoyed Captain Marvel just in its vibe. I know that's a strange thing to say, but as I was watching the film, I just thought, this is a good energy to it. Like, I remember thinking the bit that was really got me as, this is stupid, but in a good way, was the bit where she, like, her hands were in those, like, metal tubes that I think she'd been, like, restrained on this prison ship, and she was, like, running around this ship barefoot with these metal tubes in her arms, and I thought, it's kind of got a good energy to it. It's really good. I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, there's not like a Marvel film that you can't watch, you know? It's like they're all, like, some are obviously better than others, but there's, like, I wouldn't say that there's one that I would be like, no, I'm not watching that horrible shit. Like, you know, I would, if someone was like, do you want to watch Iron Man 2? If it was on, I'd watch it. I mean, I'm not you know, they're all sort of fun, you know, good paced sort of films. So yeah. But, whew, we're almost there, Lewis. We're almost there.
We're almost there. One more.
No, two more.
Oh, right.
But this is the big one. Avengers Endgame. The culmination of the Marvel Cinematic Universe in many ways. It wraps up a lot of the stories and is also a big celebration of
everything that's been accomplished. Yeah,
exactly. I'm going to read some of Darius's notes on it. Finishing my thoughts on the MCU, Avengers Endgame is quite good for being 3 hours long. I just try not to think about the time travel logic. Portals is the best scene in the MCU, and finally Spider-Man Far From Home is the official end of Phase 3. It's a good summer... oh, well, that's another film. But yeah, so Avengers Endgame. The time travel plot still annoys me.
Frustrating, yeah.
Yeah, it's... I want to try and understand it before we leave here. So strap in for a 4-hour podcast. So there's our timeline, and if you go back in time and change something, it doesn't change your timeline, it just creates a different timeline. If that makes sense.
Yes.
So it's like, I've changed this, but my timeline is still the same. It's just there's a different timeline where that would, you know, be different, I guess.
Okay.
Which is hurting my head. I think that's it.
Yeah, it hurts my head a bit.
Darius, is that right? Is that what they were going for?
I think Avengers Endgame is like, there are good bits and there are bad bits. Like, for someone like me who's grown up reading comic books where all the Avengers are all fighting in a big battle together, it was like weirdly emotional to see all of them on the screen at once. They'd all leapt out of the portals and they're all doing battle against Thanos' army. And it sort of genuinely almost brought tears to my eyes. I know that's a bit, like, intense, but it genuinely, it sort of meant quite a lot to me to see that happen.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I think, as I say, the good bits, bad bits. I don't like the time travel plot, but I liked seeing the sort of, almost the Avengers sitcom of them sitting around the Avengers compound and just, like, doing stuff. It was quite nice in a funny way.
No, definitely.
It rounded out the sort of whole era well. But yeah, I do. It does frustrate me that time travel was what they went with. I know that they didn't have a lot of options, but it was frustrating to pull an option out your arse and go with that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do wish that they would have just played with the pieces that they had on the board instead of like, you know, like, oh, here's a time travel van, you know. Which, I mean, to be fair, they had set up, but like they set it up so late. Like, especially with Captain Marvel as well. Like, Captain Marvel is an incredibly powerful character, and we're only just getting her like before the last film. It's like you would need. Obviously, I'm not Kevin Feige or Jon Favreau, so I can't do anything about it now. But like, if I was going to use a character like that to essentially nearly destroy Thanos, I would need to have set them up way before, you know, the last film, you know. And Wanda nearly killed Thanos, which is another thing. It's a plot point that's brought up later in WandaVision as well. But I wish that they could have done it in a way without going back in time. That's the only thing that annoys me. But it was nice to see them sort of, you know, go back to 2012 and let Captain America fighting Captain America, stuff like that. Much, you know, a lot of fan service stuff, but you know, it's Marvel in it. You just got to shut up and just enjoy it. The portal scene, as Darius said, one of the best scenes in in the franchise. You know, you're just cheering, and obviously you get Black Widow's death, you get Steve Rogers' sort of departure and eventual death, and you get Tony's death. So it's 3 big heavy hitters that are, you know, gone.
And I did really appreciate the sort of big 3 battle with Thanos right at the very end. Though it sort of, in the end, it sort of came down to just a punch up.
Yeah,
like it's they've had all these enormous cosmic stakes, and it's a punch up in a Mackey's car park. You know what I mean? It's. I really enjoyed that in a funny way. It felt a lot more grounded than I think it could have done.
Yeah,
and it felt grounded. He says. But also, this is a tiny thing. I enjoyed how when Thor like put his armor on, the lightning also plaited his beard.
Yeah,
that was quite nice.
I did like that.
I didn't like. There was a lot of like weird sort of body shaming type stuff going on with Thor being like overweight Thor.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's a bit gross and weird and out of place. I don't get it or like it.
No, I didn't like that. I also didn't like the sort of really performative big sort of every female character walking at the same time sort of thing. I think the boys did that way better, you know. Just 3 badass women.
The boys did do a really good version of that.
3 badass women kicking the fuck out of a Nazi. Well, that's just... it's just such a humble way to do that, do you know what I mean? But it was just so... how... Just logistically, every sort of female character all came to this one point on the battlefield. It was like... I got what they were trying to do, and it's nice and all that, but it just felt a bit sort of too corporate-y for me. And it was like...
I understand what you're saying, yeah. It's, I think we might disagree. I did kind of like it in a funny way. While I do acknowledge, obviously, it's statistically improbable given the circumstances, I think that I'm not watching this film for realisticness. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm watching it for it to show me things that I like.
No, definitely.
And I saw that and I was like, oh, no, I do like that. That's good. Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
So I think we might disagree a little bit on that.
Yeah, it just felt a bit performative to me. But, you know... It's a Marvel film, I guess.
And I did enjoy the 3 women kicking the shit out of a Nazi.
Yeah,
that was
so
really
good.
That was maybe they could have had all the female Avengers come around and kick the shit out of a Nazi. Maybe that would have been good.
Yeah,
if Red Skull had have been the final villain.
Yeah,
they all just gathered around and started kicking the shit out of him. That would have been good.
Yeah, I mean it's tonally, isn't it? I guess. But I do. So now that we're sort of nearly at the end. I mean, we can do Spider-Man if you like. We can just talk about that briefly.
Yeah.
Darius says Spider-Man Far From Home is the official end of Phase 3. It's a good summer team movie. Its villain is a metaphor for fake news. So it's on Netflix if you haven't seen it. So there you go.
I quite liked Far From Home, to be honest with you. What did you think?
I thought it was okay. I thought it was good. I liked how Peter Parker had to sort of reconcile whether he was going to become the next sort of Iron Man sort of thing. You know, I like that. I like Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio.
And I did enjoy... I enjoyed forgetting what I was going to say. Fuck, that's the second time today I've done that. Yes, that's it. I remember seeing online that Tom Holland went back and watched Iron Man 1 quite sort of religiously and tried to replicate a lot of his Robert Downey Jr.'s sort of body movements while he was in the workshop in Iron Man 1.
Oh.
And he tried to recreate that when he was in the sort of Quinjet in Spider-Man Far From Home. I quite liked that. That was quite nice.
Yeah, I like that.
And I liked that the villain was sort of shown to be a little bit insane, just slightly insane. Like he misremembered things and he sort of got things wrong deliberately on purpose, sort of accidentally on purpose sort of thing.
Yep.
Like when you actually go back and watch the Tony Stark uses those glasses to recreate a situation with his parents in, nobody's actually laughing at the fart joke that Tony made. Nobody's laughing at that. And yet when you see Mysterio's sort of he's looking back and he's thinking about it again, people are laughing at him. I like that he's shown to be sort of lightly unhinged.
Yep.
He kind of isn't quite in touch with reality.
No, definitely.
It's something that's sort of gently touched on in the MCU movies, but I quite liked how they dealt with it with Mysterio.
Yeah, definitely. It's a good thing.
Plus, Tom Holland is good. Zendaya is good. They're all good, aren't they?
Yeah, they are all good. I've got some sort of fundamental questions just to sort of round everything off. So, who is your favourite hero in the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Ooh. I don't know, I always had a soft spot for Spider-Man, I think.
Yeah.
And, I don't know, to have him sort of... Because he's such a grassroots superhero, and he's just like, I'm just trying to do what's right. I'm just trying to do what's good. Like, and somehow that includes, like, carrying the Infinity Gauntlet and then giving it to Brie Larson. And I don't know, I quite liked that.
Yep.
I don't know, I really liked Spider-Man and how grounded he makes all the movies feel. And it was, I know we've moved on a bit, but I quite enjoyed how Far From Home was kind of the epilogue to the MCU.
Yeah,
do you
definitely.
know what I mean? Like, I enjoyed that, and I enjoyed Peter Parker in all of the movies.
Yeah.
It was just really good. So what about you?
Just before I say, Darius said Tom Holland got Darius's dream job. So
yeah, I think I got millions and millions of people's dream job. Yeah,
absolutely. I think Iron Man for me. It's like it's the sort of journey of someone really selfish becoming selfless, and still maintaining that sort of optimism and sort of charisma that comes with it. I was weeping when they were at the funeral when Tony Stark's heart was sort of going away. That was really liked Iron
deeply
Man.
sad, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And the I think the other moment that was big and full of everything was when Captain America picked up Mjolnir.
Yeah.
It was, I remember in the cinema, this sort of electric atmosphere when that happened. Oh, it's amazing.
And Thor's like, I knew it.
Yeah. Oh, really good.
So, who's your favourite villain?
Ooh. I don't know. That's a really difficult question.
Is it Whiplash?
Yes, it's Whiplash. I might have to say Loki, to be honest with you.
Oh, I don't think he's a villain anymore, Lewis.
Well, no, I know, so it kind of doesn't count, but I enjoyed him in Avengers as a villain, and I enjoyed him in Thor as kind of just a guy.
Yeah.
I know that he's not technically a villain, he's kind of an anti-hero, kind of not even, kind of a hero now, but like, I really enjoyed, I just really enjoy watching him on screen, and I really enjoy watching him sort of struggle with his own internal feelings as he's trying to do things he wants to do, or not do the things.
Yep, definitely. Mine's is.
What about you?
Mine's is Howard the Duck. No, it's between. See, I like. It's either between Killmonger and Thanos, I've got to say. Like, Killmonger's motivations are probably more understandable, but then again, Thanos lost his home planet as well, so it's like, I like villains who have something other than just, I am bad and I will destroy the world, So it's probably between those two. And the last question I have, which is kind of it's kind of a topical question. So back when sort of Avengers was wrapping up, a very famous director by the name of Martin Scorsese said that the Marvel films and films like it are essentially not cinema, and are essentially cheap thrills and used for theme park rides.
Terrible take.
Well, explain.
I think that I understand where he's coming from, in that it's to compare something like this to something like Iron Man 2 to The Godfather. There's a gulf between them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But on the same level, I think to say anything is inherently not cinema, because I don't think it is, I think that's a sort of a very snobby attitude to take.
Yeah.
I think everything has something to say if you will just let it say it. And while in some films, I think that some films might be more culturally relevant. Some films might be more important in terms of what they represent, what they try to get across, what they're telling you a story about.
Yep.
I just think it sort of makes me angry to see someone like Martin Scorsese have such an elitist opinion of, no, I think that the Marvel Cinematic Universe films are just kind of trash. They're just kind of just fodder for the common people. But us elites, we get to watch the incredible cinematic delights of everything. And I think in years gone by, perhaps cinema was more of a great unifier. But I think in times nowadays, it's fucking expensive to go to the cinema.
Yeah.
It's expensive to go to the cinema. It's expensive to take time out of your day, even, to go and do something like that. So it frustrates me to see this great elitism creeping into cinema, and I think this is part of that. Do you know what I mean?
No, I absolutely agree with you. It's basically everything that you've just said. I mean, there are great character arcs and stuff like going on in these films. It's not just shoot 'em ups and lasers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, there's some really compelling character arcs. I used to think that he was right, but then I realised, no, you're just being a wee snob. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And it's just like, not everyone likes the same films that you do, and everyone gets meaning from different things. So, just fucking accept that and move on.
It's one thing that really does frustrate me to say, when you see people say, like, oh, you have to watch this in the theatre, in the cinema. It's like, oh, well, I can't.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's just like, I think it was a Steven Spielberg thing. It's like, oh, I think the cinema is like it's a spiritual experience. You have to go to the cinema. You have to go and do that. But people can't.
Yeah, exactly.
There are no two ways about that. Some people just cannot do that.
Yep.
So to say that the only way to experience whatever thing Steven Spielberg has just brought out is to go to the cinema, that's such a cruel thing to say.
Yeah, very much so.
It really frustrates me. I greatly disagree with that sort of snobbish, elitist attitude towards cinema.
Yep. No, I agree. But I think.
Yeah, I think.
God willing, I think that's us.
Sorry, it would have been us, but Darius just put not a hot, spicy take, an interesting take into the Patreon chat. I watched Back to the Future on VHS the first time I watched it. Yeah, because and the reason that sort of home cinema and home video and VHS and things like that did do so well is because after a while they become cheap and affordable.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a TV in my house. I can go and buy a DVD of whatever and put it on my TV. And it frustrates me to see this elitist. No, you have to go to the cinema and you have to sit in the cinema in silence.
Yeah, maybe if film budgets were decreased by 80%, then people could afford to go to the cinema. Do you know what I mean? It's greedy companies trying to get a return on the hundreds of millions that they spent on their project. Do you know what I mean? And Marvel isn't an exception to this. I mean, the sheer amount of money that Marvel have spent on these films is unbelievable. I mean, I don't care how good an actor you are. I don't care how charming you are as Robert Downey Jr. You do not need 42 million a movie. It is fucking shocking. Use that money and fucking, Jesus Christ, cure cancer, Jesus Christ, or spend the money more effectively on the film and on the crew that's actually making it, rather than just the talent. It's so elitist and it's really annoying, and I just wish that more focus would be given on the team effort of making a film, rather than Robert Downey Jr. is going to be in this. It's really But anyway,
yes, that is us out of notes. An hour and 40 minutes. God, that's a long podcast.
I mean, to be fair, that was the length that we were doing them when we started. It was an hour and 30 minutes on average, but so it's nice to return, and I think we realise why we stopped doing an hour and 30 minutes, because it just takes so fucking long.
It does.
But I want to say thank you to Darius, who has been in the chat the entire time. An absolute trooper, just listening to us ramble on about fucking shite. So thank you, Darius.
Getting angry about politics, and then getting angry about films, and then getting angry about Martin Scorsese.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Darius.
Thank you very much. So that was the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Phase 1 to 3, and I really enjoyed talking about that.
Me too, yeah.
Yeah. So, should we do some cheeky shilling before we announce what we're going to be doing next?
Yeah, go on then.
Yeah, okay. We all have Linktrees. And Lewis's Linktree is linktr.ee/Lewis_Brindley. Mine's is /O'Hiram. And the podcast's is /Shouting Into the Void. We have a PayPal donate button, so anything you can spare, anything at all would be greatly appreciated. We also have Patreon, and we want to take the opportunity, as we do every week, to thank our wonderful, wonderful patrons. Chloe.
Thank you.
Darius.
Thank you.
Sophie.
Thank you.
Peter.
Thank you.
Aditya.
Thank you.
Richard.
Thank you.
Natalie.
Thank you.
And Dougie.
Yes, thank you one and all. You do mean the world to us. You allow us to talk for nearly 2 hours about 20 films. So thank you very, very much for allowing us to do this podcast that we love to do. It really does mean the world.
Yes, thank you so much.
And it's only due to your support that we've been able to make 80 episodes of this.
Yes.
So thank you very much.
I know.
If you would like to join their number, you can go to patreon.com/shouting into the void. You're a person that has been on the internet before. You know how Patreon works. Yeah, you can get all sorts of bits and bobs, and we'll mention you on the podcast. And yeah, just thank you again to all of our patrons. You literally allow us to do what we do.
Yep.
Because you fund the podcast. You fund us making sure we have the microphones that we need, the hosting costs that we need. You really do help a lot. So thank you.
Yep. Thank you so much, guys. We also have merch on Teespring and Redbubble. We sell tote bags, mugs, t-shirts, all sorts of stuff. Go have a look, see what you fancy, or don't. It's up to you. It's your life. I can't live it for you. Jesus Christ, boundaries. And last but certainly,
of course, yes.
And last but certainly not least, we are partnered with an amazing company called Number 12 Crochet Avenue, and Lewis is going to say some wonderful things about them, all of which are true.
Indeed, I am. Number 12 Crochet Avenue is a wonderful company run by my wonderful wife, in which she crochets. She's very, very good at it. If you would like to bless your Instagram feed with some aesthetically pleasing crochet creations, or creations, however you'd like to say that word, you can go to @Number 12 Crochet Avenue on Instagram, and you can check it out. Give her a cheeky follow, and your Instagram feed and your eyes will thank you.
Yes, and I will. Thank you.
Yes.
Well, there you go. Oh! Woo!
Oh, that was a monster of a podcast, wasn't it?
I need to refresh my brain a little bit. Okay, so we've got some stuff that we're going to be doing, and I'm going to spin the wheel, and we're going to announce it. Okay, so here we go.
Okay.
If you were sick of Marvel, tough shit, because we're going to be doing the Disney Plus shows as well. Jesus Christ. We're going to start with WandaVision, and then we're going to do Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and...
Fatwas.
Yeah. And time allowing, hopefully it'll be done by then, but we might be able to do Loki as well. And then after that...
Good old T-hitters.
Yeah, and after that I'm never talking about Marvel again. Because this is fucking shocking. So yeah, that's something to look forward to. Yeah, that's us, I think.
Indeed, it is us. Yes, thank you very much for listening to the podcast. I look forward to you listening to me next time. Yes, thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.
Goodbye.